I had a dream of becoming a superhero once. There's something therapeutic about beating up strangers in alleyways over stolen handbags. But much like my ability to do a pull-up, it would fade away. However, for one Australian fella, that dream would not only come true, but he would also get paid for it. The person I'm talking about here is James Magnussen, an Aussie swimmer who managed to go from this to this in just 20 weeks. And if you think this guy could fold you like laundry, that's cause he can. Because with the help of enhanced games, James would go from training a meager 6 times a week to a whopping 14 times a week. My muscles get sore after a light jog, let alone twice a day workouts. But for this guy, that was light work. I mean, he is literally nicknamed the Missile, and that was before turning into He-Man. So who are the enhanced games, and how did they turn the Missile into ICBM in such a short amount of time? Well, gather round kids, because I'm going to tell you the tale of... If you haven't already guessed by now, James is on steroids, which goes to show that you too can become Batman, you just need lots of drugs. But this isn't your average run-of-the-mill steroid tale. Oh no. The reason James, as he put it, got juiced to the gills is because he was offered $1 million to beat the 50-meter freestyle world record. But it came with a price to pay. Some may say his dignity, others his health, me his ability to fit through small doors, and that price was having to take performance-enhancing drugs. James was not only allowed to take steroids, but actually told to by a company called Enhanced Games. The idea was to have these two swimmers take as many steroids as possible to see if they could beat the world record. Now here's the funny thing, James would actually become slower than he was before taking the steroids, whereas his competitor Kristian, I'm not even going to attempt that, would actually beat the world record by a whole 2 milliseconds. This would win him the $1 million and the self-proclaimed title of fastest swimmer in history, which not too many people were fond of, and before you ask, no. This time was not taken seriously by World Aquatics. In fact, they banned him from all future events along with anyone else who supported Enhanced Games. Which brings me on to the Enhanced Games. Who are they? What are they planning? And why are they making modern day Steve Rogers? Well, for starters, let me give you some context. The Enhanced Games is run by this guy, Aron dsouza. Now dsouza, he has a vision. That vision is to redefine superhumanity through science, innovation and sports. And his way of doing that is to create his own version of the Olympics where athletes get juiced up Liver King style. The rules are simple. Take whatever FDA drugs you like, be honest about what you're using and pass a medical exam before competing. The first ever Enhanced Games will be held in May of 2026 in the place where dreams go to die and gambling addictions thrive, Vegas. Now, Enhanced Games plan on having 5 different categories, those being swimming, track and field, weightlifting, gymnastics, and combat sports. However, the first event will only have swimming, track, and lifting. They may add more in the future, but it depends on how well the first games do. Now, by far the biggest concern with the games is the health side of things. It's no surprise to anyone, but using drugs comes with its risks, and steroids are no different. I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but what I will tell you is that in worst case, overuse in steroids can lead to a sudden cardiac death. Like I said, this is the worst case scenario, but many people, like Kieran Perkins, believe that it's not only possible, but unavoidable for somebody to die during these events. Now, I don't think it'll come to that, but it's still a risk, especially since the only rule on how much you can take is that you're healthy. But what's to stop an athlete from adding that little bit of extra steroid to the point where it becomes too much for them to handle? It would literally be Icarus on steroids. And this is nothing compared to combat sports. It doesn't look like they're going to be doing combat sports as of right now, but it is something they've talked about, so it's very likely going to be in future games. Now, I'm no expert, but something tells me pitting 2 angry, roided up buff guys against each other is a bit dangerous. And if you somehow make it out the Thunderdome, you then got addiction to deal with, and not the fun kind. Yes, athletes will be monitored by doctors during training, but what's to stop them from using them after the games, this time without doctors? Another big problem is part of what makes sport is being able to achieve great things without the need of steroids. But Enhanced Games kind of just throws that idea out the window, which a lot of people are saying is not only insulting to the sport, but also to the people who set the world records in the first place. This is partly why Kristian whatchamacallit got so much hate, because even though he did beat the world record, he used dope to do it. And being known as the guy who competed in the Cheetah Olympics is not a good look for anyone, which is why why just participating in the enhanced games could ruin your career. Because what if the games get cancelled, or if they decide to replace you with somebody else? That'll be a fast way into retirement. Now, it's not all bad. The enhanced games has a lot of positive sides to it. For starters, in their own weird way, it's actually considered fairer than the Olympics. The Olympics is known for its cheating issues, and what better way to combat that than to make everybody a cheater? Fight fire with fire. Unsurprisingly, people argue with this and say it's just a contest of who has the bigger needle. Whether you think it's fair or not is up to you. But what you can't argue with is the big fat paycheck that athletes are getting. Easily the biggest pro, Enhanced Games is offering crazy amounts of money for just competing. Now, you might be saying, doesn't the Olympics also pay a lot? Big fat spoiler, no. A lot of people don't know this, but Olympians don't actually get paid much outside of sponsors. Kristian's wife, Lindsay Thingamabob, claims that while working as an Olympian, Kristian would earn as little as $5,000 a year. And if you know anything about living prices, this ain't lasting you more than 3 months. Whereas after just a few weeks with Enhanced Games, Kristian has earned 200 times that. Even if Enhanced Games is unsuccessful, winnings like this may push the Olympics and other events to pay their athletes more. The final point before moving on to the verdict is that Enhanced Games not only allows, but encourages retired athletes to participate. I mean, if Mike Tyson can drag his fossilized ass out of retirement, then I guess anyone can. In fact, this Herculean demigod was also retired and managed to put on 10 pounds of muscle in just 10 days. Like a boomerang, this man just came back stronger, and I'm amazed he didn't even sink, let alone swim. The point here is that steroids allow people to return to the sports they love, which is not only good for them, but also good for the fans who miss the glory days. All of this leads us to the conclusion, and honestly, I have a hard time making a decision, because on one side, there are some seriously good benefits, but on the other side, there's a lot of potential risks. Not to mention the Enhanced Games may influence younger people to try steroids, which is a whole other type of problem. Overall, I think it's definitely interesting, and who knows, maybe in a few years we'll have a cyborg Olympics. I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments, and any sort of feedback goes a long way. But with all that out the way, bye bye!